Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 18 of the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products here at the beautiful Motor Speedway of the South, or as it's properly known, Bristol Motor Speedway, here for round 4 of the Oval Series, following hot on the heels here of the real world Bristol Motor Speedway NASCAR race that happened just yesterday and, of course, over the course of the last weekend. I'll tell you what, though, tonight we seem to be in for a little bit of a doozy here this evening. It seems like all of the tire issues that the Cup Series was projected to have seems to all be here instead on the virtual iRacing.com platform. So we're gonna have to see how things play out for these drivers, but we had lots of incidents in practice, lots of incidents in qualifying, several drivers not being able to set a time here tonight. So we'll just have to see what happens here, but they look down at our race info here. Of course, Bristol Motor Speedway coming in at just barely over half a mile in length here. Call it about 0.53 miles if you want to be specific, or 0.85 kilometers for those of you who use the metric system. Of course, in the beautiful Bristol, Tennessee. Opened up back in 1961. This is the 10th time that the ASRC League has visited the raceway. Only the 4th time by the Oval Series here, though. Most of the races on this track with ASRC has been on the dirt layout, which, of course, unfortunately no longer goes on in the real world. 4 of those 6 dirt races, by the way, won by Jason Mong. But of the 3 times the Oval Series has been here, it has been 3 different winners: Kevin West, Brian Sabelski, and Michael Moultrie. Unfortunately, Sabelski is the only one of those 3 drivers here to make it out to the field, so he's going to be going for 2. Everyone else is going to be trying to go for their first win here in the league. That said, drivers are starting to make their way down to the starting grid, so how about we take a look down at our lineup here for today. Starting out on the pole here in the number 15 machines, once again showing up to the race last minute, and this time he manages to steal the pole here in that SM Racing Products number 15. That's going to be none other than Mr. Garrett Streets. How about back in second, though? That's going to be Mr. Brian Sabelski, the driver we were just talking about, the only driver in the field trying to go for his second win at the Bristol Motor Speedway. In that McConey setup shop entry, that's going to be Mr. Brian Sabelski. Back in third, in that number 93 Goodred entry, that's going to be League Administrator Mr. Jason Gardner, with Mr. Daniel Sparks in the Cheesies number 4, rolling it off back in fourth. About back in fifth, though, the 05 of Alexander Light in that Pittsburgh Penguins entry. Driver we were not expecting to see here this season after a very long hiatus from the league. He managed to get a podium finish last week, and now he is here again, starting inside the top 5 here this evening. Back in sixth, it's going to be the Save Our Seas Foundation number 7 of Mr. Kevin Alessia, unfortunately unable to attend the last couple of races. Rookie driver here this season, and so far having a pretty solid one. He's going to be starting off in position number 6. How about back in 7th? That is the 27 of Mark Kluge here in the Cheesy Bites 27 machine. And his outside in the CZ Robotics number 24, that is going to be none other than the driver out of Newnan, Georgia. That is Corey Logan, rolling off position number 8. Back in 9th, it's another scarcely seen driver who came out to the field last week. It's going to be Mr. Johnny Bell in the Dirt TV number 6, other driver out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania here. Back in 10th, we have the 188 machine. That is going to be Joshua Rudolph in the Caramel M&M's entry. That's the driver out of Medford, Wisconsin. Then we have the 11 of John Atkins back, or the 712 of John Atkins back in 11th, and the 78 of Derek Murphy rounding out the tail end of the field here. Green flag of the year for the first time here in 2025 at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And immediately we have a driver going way up high there. That is the 85 of Brian Sabelski, way up the raceway in that McConey setup shop machine, but he manages to hang on to it. He's going to dive down the bottom. He's going to find himself up in second here. And just like that, lap number 1 in the books. Everyone's keeping their trucks pointed for the most part in the right direction so far, which is good to see, because with all those incidences we had in practice and in qualifying on those cold tires, I was really concerned we might see an early lap 1 incident here, but just take a look around the field. Everything seems to be all right here for these truckers. Garrett Streets holding on to the lead here for the time being as everyone starts to single file out, just trying to get themselves situated here and get a couple laps under their belt before they try and go for anything particularly daring here this evening. I'll tell you what, we are setting 15-second lap times here in these NASCAR trucks. These laps are going to be clicking off mighty darn quickly here this evening. You can see down on trackside cams, starting to get a little bit spread out here. There's a bit of a gap starting to form behind Kevin Alessia back to Johnny Bell. On back through Derek Murphy. Called that about a 3-second gap splitting the field here. Right now, the closest battle on the speedway seems to be the battle between Kevin Alessia and Corey Logan here. About a tenth of a second between the two of them, and Corey Logan is gaining on that SRC's Foundation truck pretty darn quickly here. Corey already up +1 from where they qualified, looking to see if they can't try and make it +2 here. And again, we are only 8 laps into tonight's event, but we are still not even 2 minutes into taking the green flag, and Kevin Alessia having trouble there. Gets a bit loose, hits up into the outside wall, just a little tap. Doesn't look like any sort of terminal damage on that machine, but that is going to be bumping him back to the 7th position here. About a little bit further back here, Jason Gardner hot on the heels of Johnny Bell in that number 6 machine. Jason going way up high here, almost having a repeat of that little bit of an incident that Kevin Alessia had. Managing to hang on to it here. Now he is having a repeat of that incident. Scrapes against the outside wall, loses the spot to Joshua Rudolph, drops all the way back down to 10th here. Never mind, the caution flag is out because Johnny Bell looks like he had a bit of an issue there as well in that number 6 machine. And it still looks like that truck's having some handling issues here, race fans. He's going to take the tow on down to pit lane. What a hectic 10 laps that was. And again, I got to reiterate, we are only 3 minutes into tonight's event, and we already managed to click off 10 laps just like that. Rapid fire here this evening. But how about we take a look back and see what brought out this first caution flag of the evening. A source is saying, of course, was Johnny Bell there. You see Jason Gardner go way up high. He gets up in the outside wall. Johnny seems to be doing all right for himself. And then he gets off of turn number 4, and the car just snaps out from under him. So now that we're getting heat in the tires, it almost seems like these drivers are having more handling issues than they had when they were cold. We'll zoom it out here, taking another look down, and again, you can see that number 93, Jason Gardner, getting loose, getting up in the outside wall. And just a little bit loose there for Johnny Bell. The rear end slides out from under him, and that's kind of all she wrote there. Take a ride on board here with the driver, and you can just see how fast these trucks are going. Progressively banking here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and at the very tops of the corners, it goes all the way up to 30 degrees of banking. Just like that. And of course, then the truck snaps out from him a second time. That sends him down the infield wall, and that's when he calls help for the tow truck. And it looks like Johnny might have taken it all the way to the hauler here. I'm not 100% positive on it, but that is what it's looking like. I believe that driver has retired from tonight's event. We'll have to give it a little bit, wait until we take the green here to see if that is actually the case or not. In the meantime, though, Ryan Zabelski and Garrett Streets, your 2 front runners here, are the only 2 drivers that have maintained their position since the drop of the green flag. Our most improved driver right now, currently drivers in 8th and 9th tied for it, both up +3 from where they qualified, John Atkins and Derek Murphy. Driver that's lost the most spots, though, that's going to be the 93 of Jason Gardner, all the way back in 10th. Lost 7 positions since taking the green flag only 5 minutes ago. We racked it back up 2 by 2, though. We're going to try this thing once again. Garrett Streets will control the field here as we come to the green flag. Sabelski to his outside, and the face truck is going to make the dive down to the safety of pit lane. Green flag back up in the air here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and what a good start by Garrett Streets. Sabelski Really had nothing to offer for him there. Immediately dives down to the bottom line, gets it single filed. Bit more battling going on here from third on back to about fifth, as Daniel Sparks, Alex Light, Mark Kluge all battling it out here for the final positions of the top five. But again, pretty much everyone single filing it out here immediately on taking the green flag. Just trying to get into the rhythm, get some laps in the books here. We did have two takers down on pit lane under that caution. Jason Gardner and Joshua Rudolph both came down under that yellow. Very short pit time, so no tires for those drivers, just a little bit of a splash of fuel in those NASCAR racing trucks. Right now, the closest battle on the speedway here is this battle for second between Sabelski and Daniel Sparks. Call it only about 0.2 of a second between the two of them, and honestly, Garrett Streets only has a couple of thousandths of a second between the two of them here as well. At least a couple of thousandths more between himself and Sabelski than Sabelski has to Sparks. Very tight racing here all around the field, but Streets is beginning to pull away here in that number 15 machine. Looks like now that he's got some heat in those tires, he is feeling good and ready to go here. Will the tires hold up for him, though? Because we've seen all these drivers slipping and sliding all the way around the Bristol Motor Speedway here, so might be pushing a little bit too hard, and fair enough. Looks like he might have had a little bit of an issue there. He's going to slow up, get slow on the high line. Sabelski now side by side with him down on the inside. We might see our first pass for the lead here this evening. Street still trying to hang on to it, but he just can't quite get comfortably clear of Sabelski. Now he's clear. Will we see him dive down to the bottom? Yes, we will. Here at Streets hangs on to the lead of the race here, at least for the time being, but it's still, I mean, everyone in your top five here is just right under a bowl with each other. Excuse me, your top four. Mark Kluge has fallen back to about 2 seconds away from the rest of these leaders battling it out here. So what a race has been so far, as we have crossed the line here. Quarter of the race in the books, and only 8 minutes have elapsed since the green flag, and that includes with a caution out on the speedway. So these laps are absolutely flying by here tonight. And once again, we see Sabelski trying at least a little bit of a higher entry. But so far, looking at the lap times here, last time by a 15:16 for Streets, a 15:19 for Sabelski, a 15:15 for Daniel Sparks, and a 15:28 for Alex Light. So really everyone just pretty much all right on the same general speed here with each other. A little bit further back, Kevin Alessia getting some pressure from behind from the 188 of Joshua Rudolph, and sure enough, Rudolph's going to make the dive down to the inside here, going through turns 3 and 4. Not quite clear of the 7 machine, but it definitely looks like you have the advantage here, and just like that, he has cleared the 7, so that will put Joshua Rudolph up into 8th. Kevin Alessia now down 3 positions, running back in 9th here. And Johnny Bell, yep, it does look like Johnny Bell has for sure retired from tonight's event. Just wanted to take a moment to confirm that. It looks like, sure enough, they have rolled that Dirt TV number 6 machine up onto the hauler. Very unfortunate for Bell, because this now makes 2 races in a row since his return where he has finished in the final spot. How about this battle here between John Atkins and Derek Murphy? These are the last 2 drivers still on the lead lap battling it out right now. Atkins up on the high line, Murphy down on the bottom in that 78 machine. Murphy sticking to his promise, sticking with the Treehouse Brewing Company sponsor every race here this week, or this season, excuse me, but of course running a different livery for a different drink that they make every single week. They're running a nice purple here, as you see the race leader getting ready to lap that purple machine here. That puts John Atkins a lap down. That makes Derek Murphy a lap down here as well. Next driver on the chopping block will be Kevin Alessia, who has probably about 3 seconds to play with from your race leaders here of Garrett Streets, Brian Sabelski. And it looks like the two of them have started to pull away from Daniel Sparks here just a little bit. That lap traffic in a little bit of a role here in splitting these drivers apart, but it's still pretty neck and neck between Streets and Savelski. We'll see how their lap times change when they come across the line here. 15.46 for Streets, 15.49 for Savelski. So once again, just incredibly close times between these two drivers here. And I will say, for all of the ASRC Oval Series, or not the ASRC Oval Series, but for all of ASRC as a whole, so including the Dirt Series visits to this track, the most cautions we've ever had here at Bristol is 2. Of course, we had that first caution here for Johnny Bell, so if we go with how the trends seem to be here at Bristol, this race might remain caution-free for the remainder of it. We've had plenty of caution-free races here at Bristol, and then, of course, that one race with 2. So for the most part, I expect these drivers to be able to keep it clean here for the remainder of this race. My one hang-up, I think, might be on green flag pit stops. I feel like this track in particular tends to be fairly tricky to do green flag pit stops on. You're just going so fast on such a tight raceway, it's hard to get that truck back down and brought down to pit lane speed. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but if there would be another caution flag here tonight, that's kind of where my hedges are being bet here, is that it's going to be at some point under the green flag pit cycle. Looking around the field here, though, the closest battle on the speedway right now is actually the battle back here between Corey Logan and Joshua Rudolph. That KNMP 188 Caramel M&M's entry has been slowly but surely working his way up the ranks, up +3 from where he qualified. Slowly hunting down that 24 machine of Corey Logan, looking to see if he can't make it 4 spots improved. And sure enough, side by side between the two drivers, Corey keeping it up high. And just like that, Rudolph is going to make the pass, get himself on up the 6th here. The real hard part, though, is going to be gaining a whole 5 seconds to try and contest these drivers that are running up inside the top 5 right now. That is going to be no easy feat without another caution. Corey also gaining spots from where they qualified here, up +1, started back in the 8th position in that T0 box machine. So for the time being, still running in an improved position from where they started. Going into tonight's event, Corey Logan was scored back in the 8th position in the championship standings, 3 points behind Derek Murphy, who is currently a lap down and 3 spots behind Corey on the raceway right now. So we could see Corey gain a couple positions here in the championship standings here tonight. And of course, not even halfway through season number 18, so still it's really anyone's game here in the point standings. Of course, Garrett Hess not able to attend here tonight, and the caution flag is out once again. And we are hearing that it might be for the 34 of Alex Light. I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage on that 34 machine here, but that's the word from the truck here, is that it was the 34 that brought out that yellow flag. So how about we take a look back here and see if we can't try and see what happened here. Alex running back, I believe he was back in the 4th position at the time of this incident. Coming up on Kevin Alicia, and exact same incident we saw out of Johnny Bell. The rear end just kind of slid out from under him here, and really not a whole lot you can do to hang on to it once it starts to go on you. But no contact with any of the walls and no contact with any other drivers despite spinning directly on the racing line. So kudos to him for keeping that truck clean here. But now we have our pit cycle here. It looks like we have a good number of takers under this yellow. Zabelski comes down, Alex Light, Daniel Sparks come down, Corey Logan, Jason Gardner comes down, and John Atkins comes down here as well. We'll see what the call is here for these drivers. We do have a couple staying out for the time being. Kevin Alcia stays out, Joshua Rudolph staying out, Mark Kluge staying out, and Garrett Streets staying out. And it definitely looks like fuel and tires all the way around for all these drivers down on pit lane. You can see they're roughly similar pit stop times as they work their way back out. Now we have Jason Gardner, John Atkins, and Derek Murphy coming down pit lane. So that leaves just Garrett Streets and Mark Kluge that have elected to stay out under this yellow. Sure enough, it's going to be tires and fuel for the 78. John Atkins has had an unusually long pit stop, though. I'm starting to worry that Atkins either has damage or maybe got assessed some sort of penalty that he's serving now, but he has been in his pit box for just shy of a full minute now, down on pit lane for a minute and 40. Something is definitely not going right for that 712 machine, and he has already been put 2 laps down now, getting ready to go on 3. But we've stacked them back up 2 by 2. We're getting ready to take the green flag here. Garrett Streets and Mark Kluge leading the field to the green. And again, just an exceptional start here by Garrett Streets, but he doesn't quite pull as far away as we've seen him be able to pull away from Brian Sabelski. Mark Kluge is right behind him here in that 27 machine. Sabelski back in third, though. He lost a spot down on pit lane, but still really thoroughly up in the mix of things. And Alex Light back and forth really did not lose anything from bringing out that caution flag. He's still run here in the 4th position, trying to hold off Daniel Sparks back in 5th. Now side by side for Sabelski and Kluge. Kluge on the bottom. Sabelski trying to make the move on the high line. So is Alex Light trying to follow him through. And it looks like all 3 of these drivers are going to be able to do so. Watch out. Daniel Sparks getting loose coming out of turn number 4. Nearly contact with the 27 of Kluge, but he hangs on to it. Mind you, Kluge did not come down pit lane here like all those other drivers did, so Kluge is on old tires. So that is one of the big reasons why he's lost all of these positions on that restart, running the alternate strategy here down on pit lane. But again, the only other driver that hasn't come down is Garrett Streets here, who did not take tires under that pit cycle at all. He's trying to hang on to the race lead here, but Sabelski definitely seems to have a bit of a leg up here on pit time as Daniel Sparks back and forth just at his new fastest lap and the fastest lap of the entire race, back in the 4th position, a 14.86. Brian Sabelski is your new race leader, though, and Alex Light is trying to follow him through here. Streets maybe starting to have some handling issues as he is scraping the outside wall just a bit at the apex of the corner here. He's going to fall back to the 3rd position. Also, excuse me, there's one other driver that did not come down pit lane. That is Kevin Alcia in the 7, running back in 9th. Last driver still on the lead lap. Looks like he stayed out just to, I believe he got the wave around under that yellow for staying out there. No, because Streets didn't come down pit lane, so I guess Alcia was still on the lead lap at the time of the caution. Looks like now Daniel Sparks trying to make the move here on Streets, and Sparks having some handling issues of his own in that Cheesy's number 4 machine. Both drivers are bouncing off the walls and getting a little bit loose there last lap around. Now neck and neck between the 2 of these drivers, but Streets just trying to hang on to it. Watch out, there's the 34 around of Alex Light. The green flag is still up in the air. He's gotten the truck rolling again. So it looks like he won't be so fortunate with the caution flag for the 2nd time around. Alex Light's going to fall all the way back to the 8th position. Now, not quite the last driver on the lead lap. Kevin Alcia just behind in that SRC's Foundation entry is the last driver on the lead lap here for the time being. Jason Gardner there up in the outside wall as well, as Alex Light tries to get himself back into the rhythm here. 33 laps to go here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And I'll tell you what, things are getting mighty chaotic here this evening. Alex Light still battling here with Jason Gardner, trying to get around that number 93 machine. Not quite able to do so. Neck and neck between these two drivers. Light hanging down on the bottom. Gardner trying to make the high line work for him, and it seems like the high line is working for him here in that number 93 machine, at least for the most part. And not that time. Light clears him up, does a bit of a slide job there. He's going to get the pass up into the 7th position. That's going to bump Jason Gardner back to 8th. A little bit further up, Streets is getting a lot of pressure from behind, now trying to hang on to the 3rd position for Mark Kluge and Corey Logan. Again, gotta remember, Kluge has not come down pit lane so far here tonight, so no tires on that 27 machine. Corey Logan, however, has. Corey's definitely putting the pressure there on the number 27 machine. It is neck and neck between the two of them. As another driver slow down on the apron. We have the 27 machine of Mark Kluge going around there just a little bit. Does he hang on to it? Yes, he does. Astounding work by that 27 machine to keep that truck pointed in the right direction, but that is going to bump him all the way down to 6th here. Putting a real damper on that battle there between himself and Streets. As we have another battle for the race lead here. Zabelski a little bit off the pace. Caution flag out on the speedway. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. For once, we don't have any word from the truck on what brought out that yellow, but it did seem like there was a lot of drivers taking evasive action there on the front straightaway, so we'll try and take a look back here and figure out what the deal was, but we might have to do a little bit of our investigation of our own here, race fans. So we did see when this yellow came out, Daniel Sparks took the lead from Sabelski, and you see a couple of drivers down on the bottom of the raceway there, and you can see Sabelski actually is down on the raceway as well. So let's actually try and back this up a little bit further here. This might be where we get our context, maybe. And maybe not quite. Hang on here. Let's go back a little bit further. Go down to Brian Sabelski, who is already halfway spun on the apron. So is the 78 of Murphy. So it looks like that's where the issue kind of stemmed from. We'll try and go a little bit further back even more, but it looks like just a whole handful of drivers all getting loose, all checking up for each other. And it kind of just created a domino effect of everyone slamming on the brakes, everyone spinning the trucks around. Do we have any takers on pit lane? Yes, we do. Garrett Street's going to be coming down. Mark Kluge coming down as well. So both those drivers making their first stops of the evening. Looks like Kevin Alicia also coming down for his first stop of the evening. Then Rudolph has come down here for his second stop. And it's looking like fairly standard pit times all around. A slightly slow one for Rudolph, but otherwise everyone's going back out onto the raceway or still going down in here. As actually I lied, Kevin Alicia is having a bit of a slow stop here. But we are stacking them back up 2 by 2, and Race Control is saying that Daniel Sparks is your new race leader together with Brian Sabelski leading the outside to the green. That's going to be Corey Logan and Jason Gardner for row number 2. So almost an entirely different top 5 than we have seen all race coming to this restart with 24 to go here at Bristol. Pace truck making the dive down to the safety of pit lane. Kevin Alicia is still on pit lane as well, so that might be Kevin's night over with as we come and take the green flag. So far, so good. Murphy leads the field, but Sabelski is hot on his heels. He is ready to put the pressure down and try and make this pass for the race lead on that 4 machine. Still 2 by 2 behind here for Kluge and Corey Logan, as Sparks slowly starting to pull away here, just a little bit from Sabelski. Still side by side here, or call it about the third positions. We have a car around, caution flag out on the speedway again for Corey Logan and our race leader for most of tonight's event, Garrett Streets, involved in that caution as well. I'll tell you what, race fans, I think I jinxed it. I talked about how we've only had a record of 2 cautions at the absolute max here at Bristol, and here we are now on caution flag number 4 in just a rapid succession here. And frankly, there was one instant that should have been a caution and wasn't, so for all intents and purposes, caution number 5. We're taking a look back down here. Looks like the incident started with the 24 of Corey Logan. And head down into turns 3 and 4 there. Gets loose. Slides up the racetrack. Really not a whole lot he could do to stop that. And surprise, there's Garrett Streets, who now has pretty hefty chunk of damage on that number 15 machine. Let's take a look down from Streets' perspective here. Tries to go up to avoid and is not quite able to. So that'll bring caution flag number 4 out onto the speedway. This might end up being a single file restart here. Don't quote me on that. We might have gotten a lap in the book there. I'm not positive if we crossed the start-finish line before that caution flag came out. If we did, then this will be a double file restart like normal. If not, and that was 2 successive cautions without a single green flag lap in between, then we will go single file for this restart, which with only 20 laps to go, that is kind of a huge deal here. It looks like Garrett Streets down on pit lane. Kevin Alicia still on pit lane here as well. Nearly 4 minutes on pit lane for the driver of the number 7 machine. That's not something he's going to be able to recover from. Sure enough, though, lights are out on the safety truck, and we have stacked them back up 2 by 2, so it looks like we were able to get at least 1 green flag lap of racing in there. So your front runner is still going to be the same as our previous restart. It's going to be Daniel Sparks and Brian Sabelski controlling the field on this restart. Kluge and Gardner for 3rd and 4th. Rudolph and Logan for 5th and 6th. Garrett Streets got out on the track, and I lied. We've single filed it back up. We changed our mind here, race fans. This is going to be a single file restart after all. Green flag up in the air once again here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and not a great restart for Jason Gardner back and forth there. Rudolph got right on his bumper coming to the green. But for your front 3, everything seems to be a-okay here. Only 18 laps left to go here tonight, though. And a little bit of rubbing just behind as Rudolph trying to find a way around that number 93 machine side by side here for the 4th position, but not quite able to make it work. Gonna lose the spot down the front straightaway. Neck and neck for your top 3 there. Look at that, and the caution flag is out once again. Garrett Streets around on the front straightaway. Caution number 5, just like that. I'll tell you what, race fans, I think this is the part where the tire chaos is starting to come into effect here. We stole all of the tire wear from the NASCAR Cup Series that they were expected to have and then didn't yesterday. Now looking down here at Garrett Streets, who kind of same old deal, loose on corner exit, comes to a stop in the middle of the track. The 78 of Derek Murphy having to make major moves to avoid that there. We'll take a ride on board here with Murphy. And surprise, there's a stop truck. Fortunately able to keep it off the wall there for that 78 machine. So just like that, caution 5 out on the speedway. Doesn't look like we have any takers down on pit lane this time around, which doesn't really surprise me. With 14 to go, I don't think tires are going to do you any favors, especially with how many laps we've run under caution here recently. We did get word from Garrett Streets that the steering is broke on that number 15 machine. Looks like for the time being it is still out on the speedway, so with only 13 laps left to go, he's going to try and make it work the best he can here, but broken steering is kind of a big deal. That's like one of the two things you need for a car to work, the ability to speed up and the ability to turn. So we'll have to keep an eye on that 15 machine and see how things work out here in these final 13 laps. Yeah, looks like no takers down on pit lane. Kevin Alessia has now been down in his box for 7 minutes, almost 7.5 minutes now. So that is terminal damage for that 7 machine. That ain't coming back out here. And that's kind of a surprise, because the incident Kevin was involved in didn't seem like he really got any damage. And you take a look down there at his race truck. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of damage to it. Maybe a little bit to the left front, but that doesn't seem like it should be race-ending damage to me. Regardless, we've stacked him back up 2 by 2. It's going to be Sparks and Sabelski controlling the field once again. Kluge and Gardner for row 2. Rudolph and Logan for row 3. Streets and Murphy for row 4. And those are your 8 drivers still on the speedway, and your 8 drivers still on the lead lap. That's a lie. John Atkins is still on the speedway as well, but he is currently about 15 laps down. Green flag up in the air, and there is contact on the restart. Brian Sabelski getting doored all the way back to the 5th position from 2nd. Excuse me, make that 6th here as Logan tries to make the move down on the bottom of the speedway. Big double high five up in the air, though. 10 laps left to go here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and with 14-second laps, those are going to click away mighty darn quickly here. Daniel Sparks still leads the field as we are side by side, and there's contact there between Kluge and Rudolph. Both drivers give me pointed in the right direction. I lied. Kluge is around. Kluge is down on the apron. Green flag still up in the air here, as now Rudolph runs in 2nd. Gardner runs in 3rd here with 8 laps left to go. Sabelski back and forth, pushing with everything he has. Caution flag number 6 back out on the speedway, and it is Garrett Streets around once again. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think I was right when I said steering is one of the 2 parts of a car that's kind of essential here. And with broken steering, definitely going to be issues on the speedway. And sure enough, that car just snaps front under him. And on corner entry too, which is unusual. Most of the time that we've seen these incidents, it's been on corner exit. But it's corner exit that did Streets in here. Or corner entry, excuse me, where Streets had the issue. And very nearly collecting the 712 with John Atkins. Fortunately, John able to avoid there. The Streets now down on pit lane. I think that might be that for the number 15 machine here. So things are going to be very spicy on this restart, as it looks like John Atkins is going to get the lucky dog here. Currently drivers completing lap 94. John Atkins is completing lap 74, so he is now 20 laps down, courtesy of that lucky dog. So 7 drivers still on the lead lap right now, and it looks like everyone from Kevin Alessia on back has retired from tonight's event. So I mean, Kevin technically is still getting his truck serviced. He hasn't pulled it down to the hauler, but Alex Light has retired. Johnny Bell has retired. Garrett Streets also still getting service done to his truck, but with only 4 laps left to go, I can't see either of these drivers getting back out onto the speedway. Now we have just gotten word from Garrett Streets. He has loaded it back up onto the hauler, so Streets has retired from tonight's event as well. He'll be finishing tonight in the 8th position. So now that we come across the line here, Lights are out on the safety truck. It is going to be a green-white checkered finish here. I lied. No, we're not. It's going to be a green-white checkered finish. Almost. That said, we can go into overtime. If these drivers don't make it to the white flag and we have another caution, we will go into overtime. And I believe it'll be the first overtime attempt of 2025, I want to say. If nothing else, of season number 18. And with how things have been going on these restarts, it would not shock me if we see that happen. But the pace vehicle's off the track. We're going to take it green here and try it one last time here at Bristol. Daniel Sparks leads the field with 3 laps left to go, and immediately just behind, Joshua Rudolph scrapes against the outside wall. That's going to cost him some ground here as Gardner tries to make the move to the inside. Not quite able to. 2 laps left to go. Call it about 15 seconds before we get the light flag, assuming that nobody makes any sort of mistakes, and we have some big blocks going on here for the race lead. Sparks still hanging on to it. Rudolph just behind, all on his tail. He spins it around. White flag is out. The caution will not come out. We are keeping it green for this final lap. Daniel Sparks leads. Gardner back in second. Sabelski in third. Kluge in fourth. Can anyone make any moves here? Checkered flag up in the air. Big impact on the outside wall for Mark Kluge, but it's going to be Daniel Sparks taking home the race win here tonight in that Cheesy's number 4 machine. What a crazy finish here to tonight's event here. That's going to be Daniel Sparks taking home the win here tonight. He came into tonight's event back in the 5th position here, only 2 points behind Garrett Streets, only 3 points behind Jason Gardner. And both those drivers finished somewhat decently behind Sparks here, so we could see Sparks bump himself up potentially into the top 3 of the championship here tonight, just off of that win. What a finish here for the driver of that number 4 machine. First win of the season for Daniel Sparks. So wait for him to bring it back on down to pit lane, and then we will get some words here with your top 3 finishers. So don't worry, race fans, we will be back here in just a moment. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back here to the Bristol Motor Speedway. What a crazy finish we had there after a very quiet start of the race. Then everything just kind of went to hell here in the second half of it. And coming out on top here, it's going to be Mr. Daniel Sparks taking home his first win of the season. Daniel, how are you feeling here tonight?
Feeling really, really good and feeling like I should hit the casino because I feel pretty goddamn lucky.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know if I can really condone gambling, but coming out on the Bristol Motor Speedway is a bit of a gamble in itself, and you managed to make it work for you here tonight. Did you come into here expecting to take home a checkered flag?
I definitely came in here expecting to fight for. I was thinking top 2, top 3. I was thinking the lead was a little bit out of reach, but once the race started going, I thought maybe I could get it.
Well, I guess then that also brings the big question of at what point in the race did that come to you, and how did you manage to make it work here?
I think it was about like midway through the race when we took tires. I thought I was just saving tires a little bit better than everybody else, and if cautions were to come out, I think I would have just flown past. But then I got really lucky with the unfortunate events that happened to Sabelski, and I just flew past and got the lead.
Fair enough. I mean, it certainly seemed to work out for you here tonight, taking home the first checkered flag to your name here this season. Next week, heading on over to Rockingham, do you think that that might be a track where you can go for two?
Um, I mean, it's it's a little ambitious to say two in a row, but I'm hopeful. I definitely like Rockingham. It's a driver's track, and it's all in my hands there.
Fair enough. I'm definitely curious to see how things play out here for these drivers. And of course, taking home a checkered flag to your name only 4 rounds into the season. How are you feeling about your prospects for the championship overall here this season?
I think we're looking good. Coming into this race, I think there was only 3 points between the top, between 3 and 5. So, yeah, like the championship's super close. So I think it's looking good.
Fair enough. Definitely seems like a whole lot of things to be looking forward to here this season. But for now, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Sparks. Who do you want to thank for taking home your first win here this season?
I just want to thank the Mooselanders team and my dad for giving me a great truck tonight, giving me a super fast truck, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on the win, and I look forward to seeing you next week over at Rockingham.
Thank you, thank you.
And finishing back here in position number 2, League Administrator Mr. Jason Gardner. Jason, the first half of the race really didn't seem like it was going all your way here tonight, but sure enough, you find yourself up here in the podium this evening. How are you feeling? Oh, we might be having some technical
Oh,
difficulty. Oh, there we go. I hear
oh,
you now.
there we go. Yeah, yeah. This iRacing setup was just a bit too loose for my liking, and I basically just spent the whole first half of the race just trying to adjust for it. Even after with all the practice, I still wasn't able to get used to it.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there were a lot of folks out here tonight slipping and sliding all over the place. It's like I was saying earlier, I think we might have just stole all of the tire issues that the real world race yesterday was supposed to have, but tell you what, it made it a heck of a race here tonight.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Normally these setups are usually tight, so having a setup that's loose like this really threw everybody a curveball with how to drive it today.
Sure enough, and you said you got all of that practice here for tonight's event and then still had those issues throughout the race. Did you come into tonight's event with any expectations on how you'd be finishing?
Um, I was before before we actually hit the track. My hopes were try to hopefully I could get a win today. But after hitting the track, I saw how loose it is. I would have been lucky to actually make it in one piece, which luck was on my side today. I managed to bring the truck home in mostly one piece.
Sure enough, I mean, a podium finish is certainly nothing to scoff at, especially here this early in the season. Next week, heading over to Rockingham, though, how do you feel about your chances at that track and as the championship overall?
Well, Rockingham is a home track of mine, so I'll be expected to at least get a top three there next week.
Fair enough. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you out there and seeing what you're able to do. But for now, though, you got a podium to your name to celebrate, so I won't keep you here all night. The microphone is all yours, Mr. Gardner. Who do you want to thank for making things happen?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for broadcasting. You've been broadcasting for a few years now. We at ASRC truly appreciate that. I also like to thank everybody out there who's watching stream, and also thank everybody who was racing tonight. Without y'all, none of this would be possible.
Good deal. Thank you for coming out here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Rockingham.
Looking forward to being here next week as well.
And finishing back here in position number 3, Mr. Brian Sabelski. You seem to have a heck of a race here tonight, all up until the very end. How are you feeling here tonight?
I don't think there's really words at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. You led most of the race here this evening, or were very close to it. And then right at the end, it looked like you had a little bit of I don't know if there was contact there or what, but.
No, there was contact. I got run into going into one there and shot up the track, and I had to save it. And that screwed me over. That caution, I had to slam on the brakes to not get caught up in that caution, which never got thrown, or it got thrown late. So I had to slam on the brakes to not run over the people that were sliding on the track. And, I don't know what I got to do anymore to win, because it seems like every time I'm out front, something happens and I get caught up in someone else's mess, and there's nothing I can do about it. Daniel ran a great race all night, so he definitely earned that one, because he was running really well even without the caution. And yeah, it's good to see him win. He's been putting in a lot of work too, so I want to make sure I kind of mention that, because I've been recognizing that he's been getting quicker every week. So he's been putting in the work, and it's good to see it pay off for him. He's been getting better and better. But I don't know what I got to do. I don't know what I did to anger the racing gods. Apparently they've been screwing me for the last 4 weeks in every single thing I've run. And I don't know. Maybe I got to take a break for a while and just, go away and come back and see if that fixes things. It just seems like, I can't buy luck anymore around here. I can't do anything to end up in either end up in 7th or end up in junked in the wall. So that's the way it's been.
Yeah, definitely a rough couple of races for you here this season. Still second in the championship standings, at least coming into tonight's event, and still having a podium to your name should keep you up there. And knowing that Garrett Hess, who is the only driver who has a leg up on you right now, is not intending to run the season full season, how are you feeling about your odds of, even if you don't take home a checkered flag, at least taking home the points championship?
Honestly, I don't think I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to be missing races too. I don't think I'll be missing as many as Garrett, but you have to win these things to really secure these championships. And doors wide open for pretty much anyone. There's drop weeks and everything, but at some point you got to start winning these things if you want to win the championship. And next week Rockingham, I think I'm probably going to end up slammed into the wall there by somebody. So not looking forward to that, because it's been a mess every time I've gone there. So probably more of the same.
Fair enough. Well, we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully luck will finally turn your way, because you've obviously shown time and time again that you have speed here in this series. So eventually something's got to click for you.
We'll see. I'm kind of not too hopeful about that, but I'm also trying not to get too down about it, one way or the other. I don't feel too confident right now, and don't feel too down in the dumps, but it's a bummer.
Fair enough. Well, I hope to see you out there, and I hope luck finally manages to turn your way. But for now, I won't keep you here all night, Mr. Sabelski. The microphone is all yours. Who you want to thank for making everything happen?
Gonna thank Coney Setup Shop, the official setup shop of NASCAR. You for broadcasting, Aiden, Jason for putting on the league, Garrett for all his work with us on racing products, Love their button boxes. Yeah, you know, that's about it. But thanks for having us. Thanks for doing what you do.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep.
You heard it here first, race fans. Your top 3 finishers here tonight. Daniel Sparks taking home his first win of the season, following up with Jason Gardner and Brian Sabelski. Of course, those weren't your only drivers here in the field here tonight. So how about we take a look at our race results, unofficial, as they stand here this evening. Of course, we just talked to Daniel Sparks, Jason Gardner, and Brian Sabelski in your top 3. But how about back and forth in that number 27 machine? That's going to be none other than Mark Kluge with Corey Logan in the CZ Robotics entry, rounding out the top 5 here tonight. Then back in 6th, we have the 78 of Derek Murphy, followed by the 188 of Joshua Rudolph back in 7th. Then we have Mr. Garrett Streets in that 15 machine back in 8th, followed by the 712 machine of John Atkins back in 9th, with Kevin Alicia rounding out the top 10 here this evening. Then back in 11th, we have back in 11th and 12th, our 2 final drivers here tonight, the 2 drivers, both out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Alex Light going to be rounded out back in 11th with Johnny Bell. 2 races in a row, unfortunately, rounding out the tail end of the field here this evening. That said, that's just about all we've got here from the Bristol Motor Speedway here for tonight's event. Next week, going to be heading on over to the Rockingham Speedway, which coincidentally next weekend is also when the Real World NASCAR Truck Series will be heading to the Rockingham Speedway. So definitely be sure to be tuning in into the Real World race and then into the ASRC Oval Series event at that same track. For now, though, thank you all for tuning in here tonight, and I look forward to seeing y'all same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And that's about it. Thank you all.